the state's Central Highlands. They say clearing forest at Sylvia Creek will wipe out the Leadbeater possum. Justine McKenzie has the story.
Surrounded by land scarred by the Black Saturday bushfires, Sylvia Creek was untouched.
These forests have been defended by regional communities through Black Saturday's fires, and now we're out here again defending them from being turned into pulp.
Tomorrow, logging will begin. Around 15 hectares of forest will be cleared. Green groups claim thousands of old-growth trees will be removed, destroying the natural habitat for the endangered Leadbeater possum.
There may be a colony of 5 or 6 or up to 8 possums in that one refuge tree.
Their claims the state government denies. It says no trees housing threatened species will be felled.
Vic Forests has done a lot of rigorous work to make sure that these are not old-growth forests, and to claim otherwise is being deceptive.
The paper manufacturers who plan to turn the wood chips into paper assure the same.
An area is set aside around the area that they find the habitat trees, for instance, in the case of Leadbeater's possum, and they're excluded from logging.
Protesters say the fight doesn't end here. They're prepared to picket, to continue to maintain a presence, anything to stop the bulldozers.
It's a fight that we can't afford to lose because these forests are so important for all our futures.
Justine McKenzie, 9 News.
Is being trashed for wood chips for a few cents per tonne, and it's not good enough.
They also claim it's old-growth forest.
We're also seeing the destruction of 1,000-year-old tree ferns.
Claims Vic Forest denies.
We are not allowed to harvest any trees that originate prior to 1900.
With work already done to clear a path for the logging trucks, the protesters say it is now a desperate situation. But the state government is pushing on, accusing the Wilderness Society of muddying the waters to create public sympathy.
These are not old-growth forests. Vic Forests has done a lot of rigorous work to make sure that these are not old-growth forests, and to claim otherwise is being deceptive.
We can't afford to lose because these forests are so important for all our futures.
Mia Reeves, 7 News. And 8 protesters will appear in a Hobart
to native forest in the Central Highlands. Now they're demanding that a protected possum be put ahead of paper production.
Save Sylvia Creek! Save Sylvia Creek!
Reclaiming a logging coup, 60 protesters in a last-ditch bid to halt the destruction of native forest.
Publicly owned forest is being trashed, and it's not good enough.
The 15-hectare catchment near Toolangi is set to be felled this week. Green groups claim, as well as old-growth stands, logging is pushing the state's iconic Leadbeater possum into oblivion.
We've got around 1,000 left in the wild. A site like this should never have been sanctioned for logging.
But they've met resistance.
That these are not old-growth forests, and to claim otherwise is being deceptive.
We also undertake detailed site-specific surveys prior to harvest to make sure that things like rare and threatened species aren't present at the site.
With much of the state's forest destroyed in the Black Saturday fires, woodchip buyer Australian Paper says it can't afford alternatives.
The plantation timber they're talking about is in Western Victoria, and that's 500 kilometres from our mill. There's costs that get incurred with that, transport costs, which make it uneconomical.
Vic Forest have already begun preliminary works and say they'll start logging the 15-hectare coupe tomorrow. But environmental groups say they're exploring their legal options and haven't ruled out taking radical action.
We will do what it takes.
David Woywood, 10 News.
Northeast of Melbourne, state-owned Vic Forests is due to begin cutting down mountain ash trees at Sylvia Creek tomorrow. The area was spared from the Black Saturday bushfires. It's also a sanctuary for the endangered Leadbeater possum. Today, a mixture of local residents and environmentalists turned out to call on the Premier Ted Baillieu to intervene. Catherine Garrett reports.
Through the rain and mist, their message was loud and clear.
Very left down and very, very angry.
We're taking away our future and my children's future.
State-owned timber company Vic Forests will begin logging the site near Healesville tomorrow. Protesters say it's environmental vandalism. They regard the area as old-growth forest.
Thousands and thousands of trees, hollow-bearing trees which are absolutely critical for endangered species.
The government says logging here will go ahead and disputes the area is old growth.
Vic Forests has done a lot of rigorous work to make sure that these are not old-growth forests, and to claim otherwise is being deceptive.
However, protesters say that research lacks scientific credibility, a claim rejected by Vic Forests.
The areas that we are harvesting have undergone a detailed overall forest management planning process. We also undertake detailed site-specific surveys prior to harvest.
Environmentalists say they're not giving up and will take their fight to the Premier, Ted Baillieu, during the coming week. Catherine Garrett, ABC News, Sylvia Creek Forest.